I know that it's been a while, and thanks for staying subscribed to this podcast and being so patient with me. I've simply just been crazy busy with a new exciting podcasting project that I'm not allowed to speak about yet, but it's huge and it's super exciting. Also, I've been traveling around the US on this road trip. I've been to Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and also I've been recording a lot of stuff for you to hear later. Right now, I have reached California, in the Pacific Ocean. I'm in San Diego right now, where I'm going to be for the next few weeks, and also heading up to Los Angeles for a few days to do some interviews and revisit the city. All this is absolutely great. The only downside is that it hasn't left me any time to sit down and edit more episodes, but I'll get something out this month, I promise. So, while you're waiting for the next episode from Sri Lanka and finally Cape Town, I want to share a chat I did just a few days ago when I was in Phoenix, Arizona. It's with two absolutely wonderful people that I've known for a few years. In fact, I stayed with them in their condo when I was in Bangkok, but we'll get to all that. This episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotel rooms, guest houses, and hostels around the world in one simple search. My name is Pelle Bo.
This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
Let me introduce my guest, and actually I'm a guest in their house. It's Sheila D. and ShEvo Terra. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for inviting me inside. And it's so funny, ShEvo is behind his desk, and there's a screen between him and me, so I can see his body, but I cannot see his face.
Same from over here. I've got you and Sheila on two different monitors. I can see bodies, but I can't see heads. So you can make faces at me, I won't even know.
But the most important thing is, Sheila, you're right in front of me in the couch. You just came back from work. And
I did. I had a lovely day at work.
No. Guys, can you please tell me and the rest of the world who you are?
Honey, you want to start or you want me to do that?
I'll let you start.
Got it.
Because I don't even know who I am anymore.
You know, we have had a little bit of an identity crisis. So Sheila and I both started traveling in early 2015 when we had a shared midlife crisis. Actually in 2014, decided to sell everything we owned in our late 40s and go travel the world. Have you heard a similar story to that before, Polly?
Yeah.
Kind of
It was awesome.
It was a choice. It was not a crisis. I wasn't choosing between that and getting a motorcycle or a red sports car. No, but you basically did the same as me. You sold everything.
Yep, we sold
traveling?
everything, including my little red sports car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we did it right.
And when you say everything, was it really everything?
We had a 5 foot by 5 foot storage unit that we kept baby pictures, some other irreplaceable things, and that was about it, right, honey?
The majority of it was taken up with our son's drums and his sports equipment and stuff like that. And there was still a ton of room left. Like, we really sold everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with me. I have this. I think it's almost always also 5 by 5 feet. I do meters.
Yeah, right.
It's not by 5 by 5 meters though. And I have a couple of boxes with my books.
Yeah.
And then my vinyl records.
Oh, perfect.
Because you don't get rid of your vinyl records.
Right.
It's a part of my CDs I didn't care about, but my vinyl records, and then just a few personal stuff.
Right.
But it's not a lot. I sold my furniture and my house and my car.
Yeah.
There you
and
go.
my wife.
Right.
You sold your wife? I think that's illegal.
I use that joke all the time. And people who listen to this think, oh my God.
Here he goes again.
We heard that before. And then you say, how much did you get for her? And then I say, much more than I expected. No, anyway, where did you go then?
Yeah, so our first trip was to France. We took a one-way flight to Paris and then a 4-hour train ride, I think, to somewhere in the middle of nowhere to do a house sit in mid-January in Paris or in France, which I don't recommend because apparently France is closed during the month of January because there wasn't a lot open. And from there, we just kind of hopped around. We hit 13 different countries. Copenhagen, your hometown or home state, at least, a country of Denmark. We were there for about 3 weeks in Kokkedal. In February, March?
Yeah, February.
Yeah, February, right?
That's not the best time to be in Denmark.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It
was absolutely stunning. Yeah.
Yeah.
To hear.
It's one of my favorite places. Actually.
So we did that, and as we were traveling around, we did a podcast that explained to people what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, and where we happen to be. We did that as we traveled around, and we did that for, a full year of travel. And then when we were in Australia, looking at the bank account at the end of the year, watching the money dwindle quickly because we were in Australia. My goodness, that was
Did you work at all when
Not
you were
that
doing
first
this?
Year. We kind of inadvertently started a business.
Yeah, we did get into the travel blogging space. I got into some travel writing space. So we did have some income coming in for the time that we were traveling, but not nearly enough to, fill the coffers up again. So that at the end of the year, we knew we were done with the crazy travel, but we didn't really want to return to America. So we decided kind of on a whim to just try out Bangkok.
Very much on a whim.
We thought Bangkok, maybe Hong Kong, maybe somewhere in Vietnam, but Bangkok was the easiest to get to, so we did, and we wound up staying there for about 2.5 years.
And even though it is Bangkok, it's still a lot cheaper than the Western world. Yeah.
Easily.
Significant. Yeah, but Sheila got scooped up by the international school system quickly while we were there and started teaching, and wound up being the principal of a private school in Thailand.
Well, la-di-da.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought our life would just be continued to stay abroad forever.
But then...
We got the phone call.
What happened, Sheila?
Our son and his lovely girlfriend.
No, wait. Set it up. You have the Skype call with your son.
Yes, we have the Skype call with our son, and there's like some awkwardness going on, and I think
what kind of awkwardness?
Like one of them's trying to talk, and then the other one, and like holding on, doing like it looked like they were trying to decorate. Almost like for a party.
Yeah, like a birthday? Or?
Like a birthday, exactly.
Yeah, when Jamara was finally done putting those weird letters up on the wall, they panned back with the camera finally, and it spelled out, "You're going to be grandparents."
Tell me what that moment was like.
There were tears in my eyes. So... And
was it totally unexpected? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we really
Completely.
had no idea.
And that was early November, and my contract was up in March. And so we pretty much made the decision from there that we were not going to renew my contract and come back. And then we ended up doing a little bit more traveling after my contract ended. Coming back here, we stayed with our son for 2 weeks while we looked for a place to live, a new car, where to rent furniture, where to buy clothes for jobs. Pretty much everything.
Yeah, basically starting over again, because when you get rid of everything, you just can't go to the people that bought the stuff for cheap and say, "Can I buy that back?" They're not really keen on giving everything back. So start over.
Yeah.
So actually, you're where I'm hopefully going to be in some years, in 10, 15 years. I'm getting that phone call, and I'm looking forward to it. I would be really, really surprised if that happens within the next few years. But
you never know.
No. But they swear that it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm curious to know, what's it been like coming back? Is it anticlimactic, or is it nice to be back again?
I'm actually enjoying it. I've got a position with a university that I absolutely love. I work with amazing people, so I enjoy what I do. I think if I was in a position where I didn't, that it would be a very different conversation. But I love it so much that I'm actually back in school. So
yeah, you're not teaching, you're learning.
I'm learning, yeah. So I'm my day job, I work with the curriculum for the university. I set policy and procedures for how we manage the curriculum and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm back in school learning day in and day out. And my lovely husband.
Yeah, he's back here doing the laundry, cleaning the house.
The same stuff I did when we were in Bangkok, I'll have you know.
Make sure that I have food to eat for lunch and everything. He packs my lunch and makes me coffee. But he has a growing business that's doing very well.
It's all good.
Yeah. And Evo is, for people, the few people who don't know Evo Terra, he's arguably the world's leading podcasting expert. That's my go-to guy when I have a problem with my podcast. Is call Evo, and he does a podcast right here. It's so funny to see the place where it's being recorded. It's called Podcast Pontifications, and Evo, it's quite a different setup you do with that podcast.
Yeah, very, very different. With Podcast Pontifications, I'm talking to other podcasters, working podcasters, I tell them. And it's not a how-to show. It is not here's the latest technology, here's the tools you got to use. It is much more of a future-facing and why you should podcast and why things are going to change and how do we make the overall podosphere better with the things that we do. But it's a fun thing. It keeps me occupied and busy every morning, and then
I'm so impressed. Even though it's less than 9.5 to 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
and you do it 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And you actually also do it streaming it live on Facebook. And
right.
I am so impressed that you're able to do that, because I know how much work goes into it.
It is a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. I've been in podcasting for over 15 years now. Well, 15 years now, I guess. It'll be 15 years. Wait a minute, what is today? Today, October the 14th?
Yes.
Today is my 15-year anniversary of podcasting. I'm not even kidding.
We should celebrate.
I am not even kidding. I just realized
Where is the
that.
champagne?
Right now. So,
Yeah, well, I got on board with podcasting in 2006, and I thought I was a late mover. And I can see now, talking to you, that I was.
plenty of room for more stuff in the podosphere.
No, actually, when we met the first time, that was in Manilla, and 5 minutes into the conversation, we were almost competing in who started, did the first radio program, when did you do that, and who did the first podcast. And no, you're ahead of me on that. I think I won with the radio.
You probably did, yeah.
And then we met again. I got the chance to meet the both of you when I was in Bangkok, and I even stayed at your beautiful condo with the swimming pool on the rooftop.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful place.
It was really nice.
Gorgeous.
The view of our condo in Bangkok was significantly better than the view here in Phoenix. Look, we love our house. Don't get us wrong. It's fantastic. But this is ground floor, where we were on like the 19th or 20th floor over there, overlooking the Chao Phraya River. And just gorgeous.
Yeah,
just
it was
gorgeous.
beautiful. Yeah.
Well,
Rooftop pool.
Yeah.
That I miss.
Yeah. Evo, how's it been for you to come back and adjust?
Well, there've been a lot of adjustments for me. When we were in Thailand and in the year before traveling, I was living mostly a semi-retired life. Didn't have a full-time job. Didn't have anything that I had to do on a regular basis. So when we came back and Sheila jumped into a job, I didn't really want to do that. I really liked not having to go to an office every day. And even when I did have an office, like my day job has been in advertising for the last 15, 20 years, which when you get to a high level like I was at, you don't really do a lot of work anyhow. So I really wasn't interested in going back into the workspace. So I tried to get the business going, and it's worked out really well, which has been great. So that's been an adjustment, the life of running a business, not just as an employee running a business, but actually the employee running the entire business. That's been a challenge to kind of adjust to that lifestyle. But the rest of it has all been the adjustment of being a grandfather. That's a whole different level of work and commitment and responsibility. It's all great, don't get me wrong, but there's no prepping for that. Just like there's no prepping for being a dad the first time. You can read every book you want. You don't know what's going to happen. So this is a grand adventure. So I'm digging it.
Yeah.
Well, and you also don't have the background of education. So which is what I have, and kind of eases me into all of that.
I will make sure she gets a good education, though. On the things you can't teach her. Only things that Kung Fu over here can teach.
I'm thinking I need to be offended there.
Nah, you don't need to be.
Evo and Sheila have done quite a few podcasts together with so many different names that I had a hard time keeping track of what exactly they've done.
If you had to pick a person's to follow on how to podcast, I mean, Paula, you just said very nice things about me, and thank you for that. But do what I say. Don't do what I do. You can do what I do on Podcast Pontifications, that's fine. But when we started that travel podcast, which we didn't even know was a travel podcast at the time, we just thought we were going to keep our people updated about our travels. It was simply called ShEvo Studios on Tour. Because the place we've lived at has been ShEvo Studios. Mine for the podcast studios, Sheila's photographer, and so we've always just had the studio. That is where we do our...
that's also the name of your Wi-Fi here.
Exactly, yeah. But that's where that name came from. So when we started, it was ShEvo Studios on Tour. But then as we started traveling and realized that we're in the travel blogging space. Never intended to be in the travel blogging space, but we had a blog and a podcast. We were traveling. I guess that kind of makes you a travel blogger and podcaster. One of the things we had to do was, what's your travel name? What is the name of the people as you are traveling, as you're a couple together? What's your name? And so we chose the name The Opportunistic Travelers, which sounds kind of terrible, right? Because you don't want to be that opportunistic people. But we totally were. Everything we did was based on opportunities that came up across, and we didn't have much of a plan. So that was our official travel name. That was our travel brand, persona, whatever you want to call it, The Opportunistic Travelers. So that was the first name of our show. But then, as seasons progress, I think season 2 we were the Op Travelers, and then I think in season 3 we changed the format of our show once again and started telling funny stories about travel that happened. This one time when I was traveling, this thing happened.
That was the season that we brought on others to tell their funny travel stories.
Yeah, it wasn't us telling this. Well, we had funny stories too, but we also had a guest come on and tell their funny travel stories. We did that, and then we changed that format again. We kept the same name, but instead of asking travelers to tell funny stories, we got comedians on to tell their funny stories about traveling, which totally changed the dynamic and character. So we did that for a few seasons, and now that ended when we knew we had to come back to America.
But wait a minute, you missed a season.
I did?
You did.
What did I miss?
What about the season where we had question and answers? Where people wrote in and asked us questions about our long-time marriage.
What the hell we call that? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Well, see?
But
So
we did have another season. And
right.
each season is about 30 episodes.
Right. But now the current season that we are in, because we've not pod faded yet, damn it.
That was my next question.
Not completely faded
Hey, we
yet.
have one in the can.
I have one ready to go. This new season is called ShEvo versus the First World. And it is ostensibly about what it's like to return to America after living abroad for 3 and a half years actually, where we tell the stories of, contrasting, comparing what it was like over there versus here and why, which is better, which is worse, and just kind of having fun around that one. But as Sheila said, we have one in the can. Hopefully by the time you get this edited, maybe I'll have the other one edited and out.
I'll see if I can beat you to that.
You likely will. But ShEvo versus the First World is the new show.
And it's been fun to do. Just with school and everything, it's been hard to find time to get behind the microphone.
And that baby.
That baby.
Every free moment we can get her, we'll take her. So,
yeah.
And she is not very good on the microphone yet. She really hasn't figured out. She's off axis all the time. She tends to slobber on it. It's just not a good thing. Mouth noises.
Yeah, she's 15 months now.
15 months,
Yep.
yeah.
But she's moving now. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I would say she's probably walking since we saw her.
Yeah.
maybe a week ago.
Yeah, she's lazy like her grandfather, but once she picks it up, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
So, ShEvo versus the First World is a podcast about what it's like returning home to the First World, in this case, Phoenix, Arizona, in the US, after living abroad for 3.5 to 4 years. I asked him to share a few examples of what that could be.
One of the things, being an American, there are many things we're supposed to be proud of as being Americans. One of the things we're supposed to be proud of is how wonderful our healthcare system is. And by that I mean, the best doctors, and they got the best schools, and you got all the best things here. Yeah, as it turns out, the word best is somewhat subjective. But I know we had an episode where we went deep into insurance. That thing, that gigantic pain in the butt that Americans have to pay for while we think we have the best medical care. We actually wind up paying a ridiculous amount of money for things that doesn't make a lot of sense from what it costs overseas to get that, where you can get the same quality of care. In fact, many times a better quality of care for a fraction of the price, with much less hassle working through the process in the system. Even in a country like Thailand, which is, good God, I don't know of another country that loves regulation and red tape more than Thailand. But still, medical procedures there are so much easier than they are here, just to pay for and get scheduled and all of that. The whole thing is a better experience. Well, if I got really sick, Paule, I would contemplate jumping on a plane and flying to Bangkok.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even just prescriptions is a vast difference from what we have here. In Thailand, I could walk into a pharmacy without any doctor's note or anything and pick up an asthma inhaler, and probably for about $3, whereas here, even with my insurance, it's anywhere from $30 to $60.
Yeah.
And I have to have a doctor's note, which means I have to go to the doctor, which is going to cost me anywhere from $40 on up, depending on what they do. And so it's really a hassle.
Yeah, you live in a country with socialized medicine, which actually works really well. We've had socialized medicine in Denmark. Both of us went to the doctor when we were in Copenhagen. Wonderful thing. But it's not just about griping about what's worse about America. I mean, we'd like to compare and contrast. I'll give you the opposite of that. We did an episode about doing a road trip. We're in America. America is the country of road trip because it's a very big place, right? Yeah. Road trips are part of the American way. When we lived in Bangkok, lived in Thailand, we had a motorbike that we would drive around various aspects of. Not just in Bangkok, but we would take long 5-6 hour long road trips on a motorbike, and how that works here. And the difference there is that in America, when I'm on a road and there's a hill that I'm going up and I can't see on the other side of the hill, there's almost a vanishingly small chance that the road's going to end just on the other side of that hill. Not so much in Thailand. It's very possible. Very, very possible that they've just ended and there's no road signs or anything telling there's a closing coming up. You crest the hill and the road's gone. It can be a little spooky.
When we come back, we'll talk about how time goes slowly when you travel.
Like 3 weeks in a little town of Sheffield, England. Felt like a lot more than 3 weeks. Weirdly enough, when we got to Bangkok and we were stationary, I feel like that time flew by really, really quickly.
That's coming up when the Radio Vagabond continues. I have received a letter from a listener. This one is from Denmark. She writes, Hej Palle, jeg har fulgt med dig fra starten. Oh, let me do it in English. Hi Palle, I've followed you from the start. I've traveled a lot myself, but now I have small children and it's mostly only for business. But I can dream when I'm listening in the car on my way to work 45 minutes every day. Now when I write this, it's holiday time in Denmark. I'm going to Feggesund, Mors and Hirtshals. And I finally got time to send you an email, letting you know what I'm doing right now. It's hard to write when I'm driving. All the best. Lisbeth Norman Andersen. Thank you so much for your email, Lisbeth. If you also want to send me an email telling me what you're doing right now when you listen, please send it to this special email address, listener@theradiovagabond.com. At this point, I've been traveling for little more than 3 years, and for me, it's been funny with time. On one hand, it feels like time has flown by because I've had such a great time, but at the same time, it feels like it's been at least 10 years because so much has happened. I wondered if Sheila and Evo have had the same experience.
I think so. I mean, we were gone for a total of, 4 years, and it seemed like it was forever, like that we've been gone now that we're back. But then it also seemed like it just rushed. Like I still have more places to see.
Oh yeah, there's plenty more to see. My take on that is, the year we spent traveling, where it was typically 3 weeks in a location, sometimes less than that, sometimes 3 months in a location. But those times felt like time was going by pretty slow, or I guess the advancement time that I expected. I didn't 3 weeks in a little town of Sheffield, England.
Yeah.
Felt like a lot more than 3 weeks. It just seemed like it was a longer time period. So I didn't feel like I was rushed in any of the places that we stayed during that full year of travel. Weirdly enough, when we got to Bangkok and we were stationary, I feel like that time flew by really, really quickly. And the same thing now.
How long was it again you were in Bangkok?
2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and now we've been back for, I guess, 1.5 years now, and I feel like the time has just flown by. Because I think it's because we're much more stationary than we were previously, and we're also not discovering new things all the time.
No.
And when you're traveling full time, you're discovering new stuff. I mean, 3 weeks in any town is not enough to really experience the town. You're experiencing something new every single day. And so when you're experiencing that new thing, time is going by at the regular pace, but your body's absorbing it all. But when it's the same, when you go somewhere, it always feels like it's faster to come home than it was to get there in the first place. So that's what it is.
Yeah. But did you feel coming back to Phoenix, because you lived here before as well, did you feel that it was the same place, that surprised that nothing had happened, or was it very different?
I think it's very different. There's been so much growth in this town and we aren't living in the same areas that we had lived in previously. We're very much downtown, whereas previously we were in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. And I think that plays a big role in it too.
For me, I can tell you that, so we moved to Phoenix in 1997.
Yes.
And we've lived in Arizona, not always Phoenix in that time, but definitely in Arizona, and spent a lot of time in Phoenix ever since then. However, coming back after being gone for 4 years, I had to drive with Google Maps or Waves directing me everywhere for the first 6 months. I couldn't get anywhere. I had no idea what streets were, roads, anything. I go, well, I know the general direction to get to that location, but what roads do I take? No earthly idea. Had totally lost all of my navigation skills. They're just now coming back. And I think part of that is, learning to drive in other places and getting from spot to spot is one thing, but also, as Sheila said, the place changed. Phoenix has gone through a massive amount of growth. Street corners that I used to know by heart no longer look the same. There are new buildings that have been erected everywhere. So that combination has really messed up my head when it comes to where things should be, that I'm just now, 1.5 years later, getting over.
Before I wrap up and we hear about Evo and Sheila's future travel plans, I want to remind you that I also co-host another podcast about travel.
Welcome to Travel Matters, the official podcast of TBEX.
It's called Travel Matters, and it's the official podcast from TBEX, the global gathering of travel content creators. I co-host with TBEX CEO Rick Calvert, and in the episode that will be in your podcast feed this week, we speak to Michael Collins from travelmedia.ie.
Google is getting better and better and better at understanding people's websites and trying to serve the correct content to the search audience. And what that means is that you may not get as much volume, but the quality of the traffic is increasing.
So less traffic's not always a bad thing.
No, not at the moment, in fact. In fact, the current trend right now is less traffic, but better traffic.
If you want to hear the entire interview, just search for Travel Matters wherever you listen to podcasts. Even though Evo and Sheila are now back in the States, their traveling days are far from over. They're still going to do trips around the world. They mostly travel together, but recently Evo was asked to speak at a conference in Kazakhstan, and Sheila was a little bit bummed that she didn't get to go.
I was very bummed. Next year, our plans are to travel some. This year was all about establishing and buying the house, and me getting my footing where I am work-wise, and school started and that kind of thing. But next year, we're going to plan a big trip. I don't know where.
I know where. We're going to go anywhere we can fly direct to. Any nonstop flight. Because here's the funny thing, Polly. So, being Americans, most Americans, like we traveled this way for the longest time, you don't really do a lot of international travel. Most Americans don't. So I think the longest plane ride I had ever had was like a 4-hour flight, which is like from Phoenix to Orlando or something. And I thought that was just the worst. I hated 4-hour flights.
You're so spoiled.
Oh, no kidding. But now, after living abroad and traveling like crazy, now we get it. That 4 hours is really nothing for a flight. But we've also recognized that anything direct, I'll do a 12-hour flight. I'll do a 13-hour flight. That's not a problem. So long as when I get there, I'm at my final destination. So we're just going to pick someplace that's a direct shot from here, and that's where we're going to go.
Uh-huh. It has to be out of Phoenix. You can't be bothered going to LA or...
Well, ideally out of Phoenix. We are also realistic in life. So
okay.
LA is a short 6-hour drive, so we could be there quickly, or we could fly to it as well. But,
it's an easy flight.
But what are some of the countries on that list?
Cuba, Ireland, Greece, Kazakhstan.
You can't fly direct to Kazakhstan.
I do want to go back to Japan. I want to see more of Japan.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But where's on your list, babe?
We didn't hit anywhere in Eastern Europe.
True. Oh.
I mean, unless Estonia counts as Eastern Europe, and I don't know that it does.
No, it doesn't. No.
Right. That's
and Africa.
Not a single country in Africa have we been to.
And so I need to go there.
But we're not a single country in South America have we been to as well.
That's
and
true.
now I've got friends that live in Argentina who supply me with mate, which is great. But I would like to go and spend some time in...
I have a friend in Costa Rica.
Well, there you go.
We go there.
So see, we got a lot. I think we have. I think we counted like 25 countries. I think that I've gotten. So we're nowhere near you, Polly, as far as our counting of the countries. But
well, considering we'd only been to like 4 before we even left.
Right.
Yeah. When I started, I was on I think 23. Now I'm on 84.
You
so.
just hit the countries in the Schengen area. You'll be at 23. That's easy.
Oh yeah, that's it. But talking about being that you said you're nowhere near me, I hope that at some point on that travel you will be near me, and I can offer you to stay on my Airbnb or whatever.
Perfect.
So I'm sure we'll meet again. I don't know where, I don't know when. But
I think that's absolutely true.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Polly.
This episode of the Radio Vagabond is supported in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotel rooms, guest houses, and hostels around the world in one simple search. Hotels25.com, it's best price guaranteed. That's it for this episode. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.